going in. So, well, thank you so much for joining this webinar today. So we're happy to be hosting our next event. This time was Paul Zaruchevsky, I think. Is that how you pronounce it?
More or less. More or less.
Yeah, so Paul is an expert in this ultimately B2B SaaS, marketing and sales. And he has over 10 years experience in marketing and sales, and his motto is no BS, no fluff. Ultimately talking about sales and marketing. And today we'll discuss something about channels and channel fit, and how to make sure that different B2B SaaS platforms ultimately fit a certain channels, and how to find the perfect channel for your marketing campaign. So because different companies utilize different skills and systems, and making sure that your channel is correct is one of the key aspects in marketing. Well, we again, a little bit about ourselves. So my name is Ermek. I'm the CEO of Richie. And Richie provides embedded lending infrastructure for B2B SaaS platforms, and we ultimately enable them to do lending and offer discounted loan products to the merchants that utilize your system by basically mitigating data that you have about merchants and kind of cracking the risk of the loan default and so on. And that's how we've been happy to help quite a few platforms this day. So with that being said, Paul, I pass it on to you, and take it from there.
Thank you, Mac. Should I just quickly share my screen and we'll go from there?
Sounds good. Let's do that.
Can you see my screen?
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Okay, product channel fit. One of my favorite topics, and something that is not discussed a lot among tech companies, just because the product market fit seems to be more important topic, especially at the beginning. But as you progress in your journey, product channel fit becomes as important as the product market fit. And today we'll talk about the concept, why it is important, and how to essentially approach it. Really quickly about my background. After spending 10 years in the industry, mainly in high growth companies, I decided to start the growth advisory to help tech companies. And at the beginning of the journey, I made a few decisions, and naming was probably the easiest of all. I always knew that if I would start marketing services advisory, I would definitely call the company No BS Marketing. You see, we marketers have this bad reputation in the industry. And let me explain. A few years ago, I was at the event full of founders and executives, really smart people. And I had a chance to talk to a few people, and one of them told me something that got stuck with me. He said, you know, I will never ever hire a marketing agency or a consultant. And I was like, oh, why? And he said, because marketers are full of fluff, if you know what I mean. To be fair, we know for doing fluffy stuff rather than focusing on bottom line numbers. And probably it is easier to deliver leading metrics for the business rather than the revenue and subscriptions, etc. But I believe that shouldn't be really the case. And when I started the advisory, I made it my personal mission to change this reputation, or at least try to change the reputation we have in the industry. And the topic we're going to be talking today is one of the ways to help me accomplish this mission, but also I'm really keen to share the learnings I have with all of you. So here's the agenda. We'll just go through the concept. I'll share the framework that I'm using I'll go through the prioritization template that helps to focus on specific experiments in your journey. Quickly touch on the metrics and measurement you need to consider. And finally, I'll finish off with a quick note on the budget allocation as you go through that. If you have any questions in the process, feel free just to drop them in the chat, raise your hand, and I'm happy to answer them. Okay, let's start from the very beginning, which is definition. I actually asked ChatGPT to define what is product channel fit, because it's December 2022. We all using, or most of the people are using it to at least play, if not help you do your work, but at least have fun with it. So, and this is a bit of a mouthful, to be honest. Correct, I would say, definition of that. But if you prefer a human definition of a product channel fit, this is mine. Product channel fit is a stage when your product grows exponentially with the help of specific channel or channels. And discovery of the product channel fit is a systematic and strategic process built around experimentation. It focuses on identifying and prioritizing biggest channel opportunities. So what are the common problems when there is no product channel fit in place? There is a slow growth rate, there is a poor channel efficiencies, and you would see low ROI from go-to-market programs that you are launching. Let me explain this using a very simplified example. Let's say there is a company that is growing at a certain rate. It managed to achieve a few milestones, 1 million ARR, 5 million ARR, and it keeps growing. So by the time they got to 1 million, they already had a certain product channel fit. Most of the times it's kind of a founders or co-founders selling the product directly, or it could be a virality in place for certain products, something that's gonna get you to this 1 million initially. And then you might keep growing to a certain extent, you might hit 3 to 5 million, whatever the number is. And after that, if you don't have the new product channel fit in place, you won't be able to grow fast, very fast. And this is kind of the key here. First of all, product channel fit is relevant for any stage of the business, seed, Series A, if that's kind of a framework you have in mind when you think about the stages of the company, or in this example, it's hitting certain revenue milestones. Product channel fit is also a not one-off event, so you need to be consistently relooking at it. And you need to approach this process in a systematic way, and I'll touch on this in a sec. And finally, founders need to be across this in the same way as they across the product market fit in the early days. So as you know, if you don't have a product market fit, there is no chance you can actually grow. So I believe the product channel fit plays as important role in the success of your company as the product market fit. Before we actually go into the framework, I just wanted to share a few slides that explains the impact of channel on different categories. So, and I hope that doesn't come as a surprise, because when you think about your total market, you always have those two categories, the in-market users and out-of-market users. And for the first category, you have a very low pool of people who are in the market to buy something that's going to solve their problem in the business. And the goal of any channel that you're going to be experimenting and relying on is help you capture the existing demand out there. And for the second one, which is majority of people, 95 to 99% out there who are not looking to buy, the goal of channel or channels you're going to be using is to help you create the future demand. And I'll just go through the primary use cases for a few channels. So, and let's start with the SEO. So for the in-market users, the goal is to optimize the product pages so that they're more likely to find you when they search for X software to solve certain problem, right? So the goal is to ensure that those people who are looking for you organically are ending up on your website. As for the auto market, the goal is to create content pages so that you drive people who are not looking to buy something, but they still landing on your website. And HubSpot has built the company on the back of this concept. They coined the term the inbound marketing, etc. So I'm pretty sure you know their story. Google Ads kind of similar to the SEO in a way that for the in-market, you need to be bidding for high intent keywords that people are using to get them to your website, and for the auto market, bidding for low intent keywords. So Grammarly is a really good example of the company that I think they're not doing it anymore, but they used to bid for low intent keywords that has nothing to do with their product, but still drove the traffic and drove people who were searching for grammar related questions. And they have done an incredible job in that space. For Facebook, and that might be a bit controversial to some of the people, but the primary use case for in-market users is direct response retargeting. And for the second category, it's brand awareness and community building. Clearbit is doing a great job there. Instagram, similar to Facebook, direct response retargeting for those who are looking to buy, and community building and influencer marketing. Webflow is a good example of that company. LinkedIn, you've got ABM retargeting for the in-market users and thought leadership for the auto market users. And you probably have seen Gong doing a good job in that space. For YouTube, it's direct response video retargeting again, rather than trying to sell your product via video ads. And for the auto market users, it's building brand awareness. And I'm sure you've seen the Mondays ads for the last few years. Email, onboarding users as the primary goal, and nurture leads for the auto market users. Asana is doing a great job there. Review sites such as G2, Captera, etc. The goal is to increase positive reviews, and it's a bit irrelevant for those who are not in the market for the product. 15.5 is a good example of the company. And finally, on the podcast, it's thought leadership for auto market users. Salesforce is a good example of the company. Bunch of other examples that I'm not going to going through, but I'm hoping you got the concept and you are on the same page with me as we go into the next stage, which is the actual framework I'm using to help me get to the product channel fit faster. So the framework itself consists of several layers. On the top, you've got your channel layers and whatever channel is going to be relevant. In your case, you got the user categories, and that's why we spend a bit of time to go through that. Data points, either quant or qual. The decisions that you are making should be based on data, especially when it comes to experimentation. The opportunities that you gonna identify off the back of the data you're looking at and relevant channels. The hypothesis that you're gonna create for each identified opportunity, and then the actual experiments that you're going to be running to test each hypothesis. And you could have as many as 10 different experiments for each hypothesis, or just a few, just to test your hypothesis and see if you can act on that opportunity. And finally, the learnings that are critical to the success of the whole framework. Just because if you're not capturing learning, if you're not repurposing the learnings to refine your opportunity, your hypothesis, your experiments, it's a missed opportunity. So I know it's a lot of stuff that does not really click right now, but let me give you an example of the company in B2B that's probably doing a good job, not necessarily using that framework, but I'll just use this as an example. Let's pretend we 10 years ago, we are in HubSpot and we're thinking, how do we grow the company, right? And one of the channels that we might decide to test is the SEO, right? So what we might do, we might decide to focus on the biggest audience out there, which is prospects learning about content marketing, and that's kind of enough for this example, and just enough to get understanding of the concept. We might do a quick research just to find out that there are over 300,000 monthly searches for content related terms out there on Google. The obvious opportunity there is to capture marketing operators via organic content. The hypothesis that we might create for this opportunity might sound something like, if we attract marketing operators by creating blog posts around content marketing, we will convert them down the line because we'd establish ourselves as the #1 content marketing software, right? So that's the hypothesis behind the opportunity that we identified. We might decide to run a bunch of experiments, but here, just an example of 2, right? We might decide to create 10 blog posts and capture emails of page visitors for further lead nurturing, or we might do same 10 blog posts, but we're going to retarget page visitors while LinkedIn ads. So both experiments are part of the same hypothesis that fits into the opportunity you can see on the screen. So after running those experiments, a few things that we might discover off the back of the report that we might do. So the first one is we can capture 5% of traffic coming via content marketing blog posts, meaning that we captured them as a lead, but only 1% in our ICP. So meaning that we might decide to redo the experiment by creating another 10 blog posts that are more specific to the searches of our ICP, right? So that's one of the possible actions. We might decide one layer up and slightly change the hypothesis so that we are creating blog posts not around the content marketing, but about something else that is more relevant to our ICP. And we might do that and run the experiment again and capture further learnings that might be more successful, meaning that we might be capturing more ICPs, or we might end up not getting any value from the whole process and decide to go one layer up and decide that the capturing marketing operators by organic content is a bad idea, and we might try something else, and we need a bit more data and we need to spend a bit more time thinking through this, right? So this is as much as you can get by running one experiment or a few experiments and capturing the insights from that, right? On the right side, you can see the second learning, which is the CPA of LinkedIn retargeting ads is 35% lower than cold outreach on the same channel, right? So you might also act on this opportunity by switching off your LinkedIn cold ads and just use that as a retargeting channel. I hope you kind of got the idea of the whole concept, but raise your hand or drop anything in the chat if you need to, if you want me to spend a bit more time on something. So what's the purpose of this whole exercise? The purpose is to create a bunch of product channel flip cards, as I call them, for each channel. And one of the card might, for a SEO channel, might look like this, right? You might have a few user categories, you might have a few data points. You know, the stuff that we talked about is on the right, which is capture marketing operators. And then you might have a few experiments. On the left, you might have something specific for the in-market, link building, product page optimization, etc., etc. So the goal is to construct those cards that gonna guide you in your go-to-market approach when you try to find a few channels that are gonna help you grow faster. So that's the framework itself. Are there any questions coming through, Ermek, or should I just keep going?
No, I don't see any questions so far, but yeah, we should. I think what we'll do is we will actually keep questions towards the end. and then you can guys post them in the Q&A section, and then we can keep the last 15 minutes for questions, or do you want me to just kind of interrupt you?
Okay. Yeah. Feel free to interrupt if the question is coming up, so that I just don't talk at people all the time. Cool. Okay. So hopefully by the end of the previous exercise, you'll end up with 20 to 50 different experiments that you might decide to launch. And the question is, how do you prioritize? How do you focus on the biggest opportunities? Because if you got a few people in the team and they're quite creative, they know their stuff, you might have a really big backlog of ideas that you might act, and they might all look and sounding very exciting, and you want to just act on them all at the same time. But we know that that's not usually the case, and you actually need to prioritize. So this is my take on the magic formula for prioritizing the experiments. So in the numerator, you've got the targeting variable, you got the control, you got the scale of each opportunity, and you got the time to value. In the denominator, you got the cost and effort. So your priority score comes from this really simple equation, right? So scores range from 1 to 5, and max score is 10. So I'll go through a few examples just to give you an idea how each channel might, or opportunity on each channel might rank. So the higher the better for the targeting. So example of low targeting channel is outdoor, because you can't really precisely target a specific group of people, which is a possibility on Facebook where you got a high targeting channel, right? The control, so the higher the better. The more control you got over channel, the better it is for you. So low control channel, Google Ads, because there is competition, there is algorithms, there is a bunch of other stuff that you don't really control. But the example of high control channel is email. It's your audience, the channel that you control, and it sits on a higher scale. Talking about the scale, how quickly can you add a bit more resources to scale the channel, right? Review sites is a low scale channel just because there is a limited number of people searching for your product on the review sites, and even if you want to, you can't really all of a sudden double the searches on the review sites. The high scale channel is YouTube, because there are billions, if I'm not sure, of people, or at least 1 billion people on YouTube, and maybe not that many in your target audience, but still the scale is so much higher if you want to build the brand awareness on YouTube. Time to value, so the shorter the better. The example of short time to value channel is Instagram, right? So you can launch something really quickly and see the response from the audience if it's a retargeting ads quite quickly. But it's a slightly different story for SEO because it takes time to get any results from the channel. Cost, the lower the better. So low cost channel is Facebook. I mean, it's all relative, right? But when you put it next to TV as a channel, it's definitely cheaper than running the ad on TV, right? Effort, the lower the better. So it might take you some time to come up with a direct mail campaign, especially, you know what I mean, if you've done this before, and it's slightly easier to do that on LinkedIn if you want to start doing thought leadership. So it's just a matter of creating the content and publishing it. So let's go back to that example of the HubSpot that we have for one of the SEO experiments, right? So the targeting for the channel is 4, which is high. Control is 2, a bit lower. Scale is 3. Time to value is 2, meaning that it's going to take some time to see the value. The cost and effort both sit on 3, which is you need a budget and you need resources to come up with a really good content to start optimize it and start getting the content out of the door. So as a result, the priority score is 1.8. I'm pretty sure it does not make a lot of sense to you right now, and that's why I'm kind of showing you how it could look like in your prioritization spreadsheet. By the way, we'll be sharing the link to the spreadsheet and to the deck after the webinar. And we're going to give you an idea of how you can actually put all of your input into the spreadsheet and get that final score that's going to help you prioritize, right? So what are you going to have? You're going to have two different tabs for in-market and out-of-market users, because it's important to separate them, and it's not really fair to compare the test from the out-of-market category with the in-market, just because in-market will always score higher on average. And that's why it's important to have them separately. So what do you end up having? And this is kind of an example for the HubSpot. You might have 5 to 50 different experiments that you might have for each channel based on the opportunity that you came up with, and have several experiments for each opportunity actually. So let's just look at one of the examples. At the top of the in-market, which is your LinkedIn direct response ads, and we might decide to target people on LinkedIn by their function and title. The targeting is quite high, so you can almost pinpoint to the function and title of the people. You can control to a certain extent how the ad's going to look like, what people are going to be using. What kind of stuff they're going to be seeing. The scale is 3, so it's more or less scalable if your audience is big enough, and the time to value is also quite short, meaning that you can see who is responding to your ads quite quickly. The cost is not super low, but also not as high, so it's kind of a 2. The effort is 1. It shouldn't really be taking you a lot of time to come up with a quick campaign. So as a result, it has a score of 5, which is higher than the other experiments on that list. For the out of market, so we went through the organic content opportunity. So, and you can see 1.8, which is not ranking really high, to be honest, on this list, but that's just to give you an idea. I can see the question came through the chat. Do we want to answer that one, Ermek?
Yeah, basically, Bill says, how about using Google Ads for out of markets? I would assume like running ads for top of a funnel events, like for example, around I guess like promoting blog posts or even promoting this webinar, like I guess.
Yeah, so I guess it depends on your company, your audience, the search queries, etc. So generally speaking, it's gonna come down to your all of this context that you have. But I'll just go back to the example of Grammarly that was investing heavily into this tactic, which is top of funnel searches that are not really related to Grammarly. So the example there was, if you would search on Google for the difference between the phrase beer with me and bear with me, Grammarly would bid for those low intent keywords that has nothing to do with the Grammarly product. They would bid for those keywords. And as you would assume, no one really was bidding for that sort of stuff, because why would you? And then as a result, whenever someone was searching for those keywords, Grammarly was at the top of the page, and people were clicking through, and there was a separate landing page that was explaining the concept or explaining the difference between those two phrases. And it has the call to action at the bottom of the landing page that was offering to sign up for the Grammarly so that you don't have those questions, etc. So it was a very smart way to do so. So if you have a use case where you can provide value to the prospect by answering either their questions or giving the content relevant to the keywords they're using, even if it's top of the funnel, it's good for the branding, it's good for potential conversion straight away, it's good for lead capture, it's good for your retargeting, etc., etc. So if you got the resources, probably consider this. Does that answer the question?
Cool. Let's see. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it looked good to me. So let's see what the guy says, Bill.
Awesome. Got 2 more chapters to go through. And I'm conscious of time. I'll just go into the measurement. So once you launch a few tests, and it's important to keep an eye on the metrics it's gonna tell you how you doing pretty much. So it's critical to get those learnings, iterate on the tests if it's not successful, but it's also important to kind of focus on key metrics that are telling you how you are doing. So generally speaking, SEO, Google Ads, for the in-market users, you would be measuring the product page visits from the organic and brand keywords. You would be measuring the conversions from the product pages or kind of brand keywords, and you'll be looking at the customers that are generated from the certain keywords that have been used. For the out-of-market users, we're looking at the content page visits from organic or the content keywords, right? So you'll be looking how many people are landing on the blog post that you decided to create. You will be also looking at the leads that are coming from the content pages. So if you decide to capture them, you would also be looking at the further line retargeting, which is, how many of them that we captured on the content pages, how many of them we converted into the customer, and what's that conversion rate, and what's the cost per lead from the content keywords that have been used at the very beginning. So you'll be looking at those metrics to understand if investing in SEO and Google Ads is a good idea. Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube. For the in-market users, you'll be looking at things like cost per sign-up, cost per customer, and what's that sign-up to customer conversion rate. For the out-of-market users, you'll be looking at things like how many people you reached, what's the ad recall, is the brand search volume going up on the back of your activity on those awareness channels. Are there any changes in the ad click-through rate, landing page click-through rate? Because if you're building your brand, those conversion rates and click-through rates should, in theory, go up. And how many trials and demos are attributed to a channel that you use to build the brand and build the demand. For the email, you'll be looking at, for the in-market users, you'll be looking at the open rate and click-through rate. So again, if you're thinking about the primary goal for them is the onboarding and people who just sign up for your free product, if it's a product-led motion, or if you're just offering the trial, then you're also going to be kind of using email just to deliver the value and get them into the product with the help of this channel. And the metrics would be, key product actions and what's that trial or free to paid conversion rate. So is email playing a major role in driving this main conversion rate? As for the out-of-market users, and the goal there again is, nurture leads. The metrics going to be marketing velocity, and what's that lead to pipeline conversion rate? Is your email programs are actually effective in taking this out-of-market user from the lead stage to someone who is ready to buy and ready to talk to your sales team. So, and that's kind of the metric you want to be focusing on. Okay, finally, the budget allocation. So let's say you got your timeline for the next 6 months. You're going to be running this program to find the product channel fit. So usually how it's done, and let's assume you got this 80K budget that might be 10 or 20% of your total marketing budget that you want to put towards experimenting with new stuff, or it could be, your whole marketing budget, right? Depending on your stage. So how usually you would probably allocate, 4K at the beginning, and then you go for 6K, and you keep increasing the budget as you progress based on the revenue targets, or based on starting small and going a bit higher over time. So I believe slightly better way to do that is take the same budget and test several channels at once, meaning that you're spending way more at the very first 3 months just to see what exactly is working for you, so that you buy the time for yourself, right? So it's you don't want to be doing it forever at the end of the day. Then you'll scale it down just to focus on high performing channels, or a channel to confirm the efficiency, right? Because in the first 3 months, you were spending a lot of money across several channels, and one specific channel might be getting, just 4K as an example. Let's say we found out that LinkedIn is the number one channel that is working for us, and we might decide that we're going to be spending double amount that we were spending in the first 3 months, and we do this on purpose to confirm the efficiency, because that's kind of a popular reason why some of the channels might not work over time, because the efficiencies are not there anymore. So you do that to confirm the efficiency, and if you're successful in that, you start to pretty much ramp up and invest more and more to make that channel or those channels as a main goal to drive leads and customers in your business. So yeah, that's kind of a my take on that. Let's answer that question that just came through.
Let me see. Okay, so it says growth hacking and channel fit. Can you growth hack within any channel, or some channels are better for growth hacking, I guess?
Oh, sorry, let me just read it as well. Growth hacking and channel fit. I'll be honest with you, I'm not a very big fan of the growth hack as a term, because as you could probably saw from the presentation, I'm a fan of systematic and strategic way to test several channels. Does not mean that you cannot growth hack something. So if you found the hack to let you get the customers within a short period of time, that's great, and you could probably come up with a few hacks specific to a channel, but I guess that's not how I would be approaching this, and I'm more gravitating towards using the kind of the data to kind of come up with opportunities and run lots of experiments, and rather than find something that's gonna work for you in a for 1 month and not gonna do much for you over the long run, because at the end of the day you kind of hitting the product channel fit for a reason, and that reason is to help you grow exponentially over time. Yeah, I'm hoping that's making sense.
I guess I could add also that I mean, when Airbnb growth hacked their initial growth, like at the initial stage, yes, they did it on Craigslist. So ultimately,
yeah,
that Craigslist is a channel, right? So
totally.
Cool.
Okay.
Any more slides, or are we going to questions?
Yeah, that's pretty much kind of the wrap up, pretty much. So the summary here is that I believe you need to treat the discovery of a product channel fit as a always on process. You can't just stop at some point. You always need to be thinking about the next big thing that is in front of you, meaning that if you manage to find the channel that is working for you, you kind of also need to think about the the next horizon, next revenue targets, because that's always the case in a B2B tech space. If you are you have the venture capital in the business, right? So in the next 2 years, the target is going to be higher, and that's why you need to be thinking about the next few years and the channels that are going to help you get there. So it's not necessarily the case that one channel just going to work for you for the rest of the business life, right? You also need to focus on both in-market and out-of-market users, acknowledging that not all channels are suitable for both categories, and kind of separating them when you think about the experiments that you might be running there. You, as a kind of starting point, you want to construct the product channel feed cards for a few channels just to get started. You don't need hundreds of experiments across 10 different channels. It's going to be really hard to keep an eye on everything and get you going. You need to rigorously prioritize the experiments to increase your odds to win, because if you got 50 different experiments, it's very important to choose your battles and prioritize them so that you are more likely to win. You need to define the early signals of success, the metrics that we talked about, to kind of let you know if you're doing a successful job in finding the right channel or right opportunity. And you also need to be strategic about your budget allocation. Yeah, that's pretty much the summary. And that's the end of the presentation. Feel free to get in touch with me on LinkedIn. There is a link, and we'll be sharing the slides and links to my profile. I'm happy to help and support you on the way in the journey of finding the product channel fit, either in advisory role, or if you just want to full support in getting closer to the next product channel fit milestone. Yeah, feel free to reach out. That's pretty much it for me. I'm happy to take questions that you might have and you haven't answered just yet.
Cool. Well, thank you so much, Paul. This was cool and really helpful. And what I found it to be really interesting, that it's kind of interesting for the certain stage of a company when companies start thinking about being more efficient, and they need to think about like proper budget allocation and making sure that some certain channels are good, some certain channels are not good, and that's like really an important step with any company journey. So I actually had a question just to kind of like get it back to like the earlier stage of companies. Is there some, like, how can you define in market channels and out of market channels for like new companies, those companies that are just beginning their journey, and how can you be more efficient, and what would be the best channels for like newer kind of B2B SaaS platforms, and what would you be what your take would be on those?
Yeah, I guess it's even trickier for early stage companies in a way that at the beginning the product market fit is all that matters, right? So if you don't have the market viable market for your product, it's really hard to get started, right? So what you need to do is focus on that and sell the product to the first 10 users, right? If you got first 10 customers, and they are not churning, there is an early signal that you got a product market fit. What usually happens, at least in my experience, is that the kind of the first channel for the growth is sales channel, right? So we talked a lot about the marketing, and I'm a bit biased being a marketer. But overall, you might find companies relying on sales as a channel to drive them forward. If they have a viral product, it just comes naturally through the network effects that you kind of you distribute your product, or the users are distributing the product within the growth loop, and you might just end up kind of improving certain conversion rates within this growth loop to get you going initially, right? And if you budget constrained, it's even harder to test on several channels, especially at the beginning. And that's why what I notice happening very often is that product channel fit is becoming a more important topic in the discussions at a later stages, when you manage to get to first 1 million, you manage to raise a bit more money, and you can actually afford to think about, okay, how do we get to 10 million, right? So, and at the beginning, it just either happens organically off the back of the stuff happening in the company, or through the really hard work of the founders and co-founders getting to initial stage. And they might find the product channel fit through the marketing means, and they might just not realize that they were doing something purposefully to get them to a certain stage, the stage that allows them to leverage a specific way to grow. So yeah, so that's pretty much my take on that.
Cool. I see like a very similar question that says, and I think you just answered it, where it says like, what are the best channels to start with for a newly open B2B SaaS? But yeah, go ahead. No, I apologize.
Oh yeah. Just to kind of probably answer just a bit more specifically that question. It's really depends on your context, right? Do you have a certain budget? Do you know really well your target audience and where they hang out? Have you done your homework in terms of is your product being searched online? Not your product, but the software, the category of your software has been searched online, or not at all? Do people know that there is a problem? Are they problem aware? Are they solution aware? All of those things that can help you make the decision: do invest in Google Ads, do invest in outbound sales team that gonna just cold call and sell the product because the problem is so obvious, and the only way to get the only way to reach people is not through the digital means because they just are not online. So the example would be, I'm based in New Zealand, and we got a lot of farmers in the country that is a backbone of the economy. And as you would imagine, there are lots of farmer-specific software that are helping farmers to do their job better, more efficiently, etc. And one of the popular ways to kind of reach people is either the cold calling or direct selling, something that is probably more obvious for people who are not very active online, not very tech savvy, etc. So it's gonna come down to your product, to your audience, etc.
I have another question. So basically, more into like, so once you pick a channel, so how long would it take to actually like grow that channel? And when you think that, when do you feel, is there a point where you feel like that channel is exhausted? Like, okay, this is pretty much what the maximum we were able to get from this, and then it just becomes so inefficient to kind of like push the same channel, and then you just need to start looking for other channels.
Yeah, it's a great question, Ermek. I think a lot of people face that challenge, right? You pick a channel and let's say the channel is let's say it's SEO channel, right? And this is kind of a real example for HubSpot again. And let's continue with this example for the sake of the theme here. So they picked the organic channel, and at some point they actually hit the plateau, 2019 or something, and then they completely changed the way they approach organic. So they changed the strategy and moved from the default option how they do the content marketing into the PLN cluster topic strategy that helped them to grow even further. That's the first example. The second example, lots of people at the beginning, especially relying on paid social to kind of reach out to people who might not be looking for something like your software, but you manage to make this channel work for you, right? And at some point, you might see that the costs are going up, the conversions and click-through rates are going down, and there are a couple of ways here, right? So it's the first thing is you might realize that you actually exhausted the channel, and there is a limit to people to whom you might reach out in order to sell them your product, right? So remember the kind of a in-market user kind of a framework that I have is, there is a limit to people that you might end up converting over time. And this is why it's important to keep building the brand, keep creating the future demand, so that there is essentially no limit, or you're pushing out the limit within the channel just because you gradually getting more and more people from the out of market category to the in-market category. So relevant of the channel, would it be Facebook, LinkedIn, organic, whatever it is, the goal is to constantly invest in both users, so that you got the constant flow of people who might not be aware of the problem, of the solution, might not be aware of your product, but they gradually move from one stage to another. So essentially, that's the kind of the ultimate goal, right? Use a few channels to create the future demand, and use a few channels to capture that demand, so that you don't see the plateau. You can keep investing in the channel to keep growing and growing. But reality check is quite important. If you throwing out the money in one channel, the efficiencies are still not there, maybe consider something else. Go back to this initial product channel feed card that you constructed, look at the several layers, and see, are there a few interesting opportunities that you probably missed either within the channel, because it could be that the blueprint that you had, that you came up with 6 months ago, that I'm talking about the specific experiment for the specific opportunity that you found out, it might be irrelevant. Maybe the channel is still could work for you, but you just need to look at another opportunity within this channel, and then you go through this process again, and you might find out that there is a better way to grow within the channel, or you might decide that, oh, actually, this is waste of time and money, and I need to switch to something else. So that was a long way to answer that question.
No problem. So I think we'll keep to the last two questions here, but I think that we could make them sound interesting. So you had the formula that you kind of presented, and that formula was like kind of a general one. But so there is an ad like this Bill. I think is putting some really interesting perspective to it. Would you add another kind of like a variable to that formula? That's called personal fit, or like personal domain, meaning like someone is like specifically expert at something, I guess. That sounded interesting to me. So for example, like, okay, so we know like someone knows YouTube very well, and then obviously he's going to be much more efficient at YouTube if he knows it than if he's at, I don't know, like Google Ads or writing in general. So like, so personal fit or personal domain expertise in certain things.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, at the end of the day, the formula there is just, something for you to kind of repurpose and make it your own. But at the same time, if you are expert in one thing, there are more chances for you to succeed, as opposed to, something that you're not aware of, and you might do something and just realize, oh, okay, it just, this thing doesn't work, and you might just not be executing well. So definitely keeping it within your domain expertise. If that's the case, yes. If not, maybe hiring someone who is domain expert in certain area might also solve the problem.
Cool. And then the last question, then it's kind of like going to the same, and I think we can all like pretty much understand, like the realize the answer as well. But what about the industry fit? Like, is there's like does that happen when some channels are fit for the certain industry and some channels are fit for the for another industry? Let's say, I mean, let's say some food kind of startups. They're very visual. YouTube is probably much better for that. And TikTok. Then I mean, writing is good too. But I think if you see someone doing something, so would the industry fit be applicable as well?
So I guess if you have something specific for one industry, I guess it's more about the pick of the channel rather than the formula itself. So you might end up choosing the channel, which is, you know, the first layer of the framework. You might just, you know, double down on Instagram and YouTube as an example. And you might just, you know, go broader in the number of opportunities and experiments rather than having, you know, 5 different channel cards and just have a few experiments there. So that's kind of the decisions you'll be able to make at the beginning based on your context.
Cool. Well, that being said, well, thank you so much, Paul, for joining today. But also, I do believe that you have something to offer to people that are watching it today or will be watching it on YouTube. So any gift that you can promise or give over to people here, like a session or something?
Absolutely. Just reach out. I'm always happy just to chat through your problems and just help you how in whatever capacity, just because I love helping solving the challenges of the tech companies. So yeah, feel free to reach out.
Cool. Well, to make it more firm, we'll say it. So there is a half an hour session available with Paul. If you guys reach out to him on LinkedIn, and I believe my colleagues actually posted your LinkedIn channel. So follow up, follow Paul, connect, and yeah, and then hopefully that's how you will scale your own business as well. And then with help with Paul, you can actually increase your sales and outreach and actually achieve channel fit. Cool.
Awesome.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thanks for having me.
Peace, everyone. Thank you. Bye-bye.